Hello, in this tutorial we're gonna learn how to rotate around the object with the camera. And when you drag and drop, when you drag the mouse, and it gradually comes to stop. So if we drag it very fast, it's gonna take time till it stops. Alright, let's start with getting the model inside. Let me just rotate it a bit. Alright, yeah, that looks good. Alright, let's create a blueprint. New blueprint, and let's create a new actor. Let's call it tutorial, I guess. Right. Let's open up the blueprint. Alright, and let's add. I'd actually want to add scene camera. I feel it has more features and more settings. And let's make an arrow to see where the camera is facing. Alright. Okay, so let's get the scene camera to have a bit of distance from its original position. Since we want to rotate around an object, we want it to have a bit of a distance from the origin point. We can either add a spring arm, or we can just click on the scene camera arrow and drag it a bit back. So its pivot point has a bit of a distance. Right? Okay, coming to the event graph. Yeah, let me just drag drop this inside real quick. Yeah. Right, let's test. Oh, all right. So when you drag drop the camera, the issue that you face that when you play, it doesn't play the camera that you want. So what we can do is in open level blueprint, right? In the level blueprint, we just drag and drop the camera that we entered. We drag and drop it inside the level blueprint, and on event begin play, we're gonna get a node called blend blend wait, with blend, I guess. Yeah, there we go. So target, yeah. So we can just set which camera to go, and we have to specify the player controller as well. So just player controller, compile. Yeah, and that's it for the level blueprint. So when we play now, you can see it's our camera that we imported is gonna get the focus. All right, and that's it. Let's go for our camera blueprint. Okay. All right, on the event begin play, the first thing we want to do, we want to show the mouse cursor so we know where are we dragging. Yeah, on event mouse, yes, show mouse cursor. And if we check now, we can see our mouse inside after we click as well. All right. Now we want to drag the camera using our mouse. So we're gonna use the mouse X input. And we're gonna get another one for the mouse Y input as well. Whoops, not this one. Mouse Y, yeah, this one. All right. Okay. Let me get mouse on click as well. So we want to know when we are holding the mouse button down. So we're gonna make a variable called hold, and when it's pressed, the hold is true, and when we release, the hold is false. Just to know when the mouse button is down and when it's up. All right. So we branch the hold to check if are we holding the mouse button click or not. And we do the same thing for the other one as well, for the mouse Y. Just duplicate and use it for the mouse Y as well. Let's give it a bit of a distance. All right. Now let's create a variable called rotation speed of type float to determine the rotation of our camera. We're just gonna add this, to the word rotation and actor to the local rotation. So be careful that these two are not the same. The on top of the word rotation and the bottom is the local rotation. The next thing, we're gonna drag and drop and multiply by our rotation speed. And our rotation speed by default, let's just put it 1 for now. If it was slow, we can just change it later on. And we're gonna multiply just by -1 for now. This is just to determine if you drag from left to right, it goes to the right, so it's just for inverting stuff. And we make a rotator, and we just plug it in our yaw. So we duplicate the same thing that we've done for the X, for the Y, and just we change the yaw to the pitch. Just add this one, and yeah, and we have to add the input from the mouse Y as well. Yep, there we go. All right. So let's test it right now to see what do we have right now. Let's just clean a bit of our code to get closer. All right. Let's test, play. Oh, all right. So yeah, so we can't control the camera yet. What we should do now here is if you go back to the blueprint and you click on this one and you have to change it to player 0. By default, it's disabled. You just put it to player 0. And now you can have a control over that camera. If we play now and drag, you can see we can drag our camera now and we can rotate and play around with it. All right. Now what we want to do is we want to create that rotation where after drag and dropping, you can do the rotation. Before that, let's just change the mouse cursor, how it looks like when I grab. So what I'm gonna do now here, from the get player controller, we're gonna just type the mouse, yes, gonna change this, how the mouse looks like, set mouse cursor. So when it's pressed, I want it to be a hand grab, yeah. And when it's released, I want it to be just a normal mouse. I'm just put default. Now if we check, when I'm dragging, my mouse is hand grab. If I'm not, it's just a normal mouse. All right, what we have to do next is get mouse position. So we get the mouse position, and we're gonna create 2 variables for this. One, it's called for the X, and the other for the Y. And on the pressed, we're gonna set the location of the X. So when it's pressed, we want to calculate the location where the mouse was clicked to begin with. And the second one, we're gonna do it to see when was the mouse released. Then we're gonna calculate the distance and the location where it was dragged from. Was it left to right or was it right to left? Let's just let me just quickly change its name here to start X and end X and Y. All right, so we're gonna create a timeline. Create timeline, oh yeah, it's add timeline. All right, add timeline. And we're gonna open the timeline here. We're gonna track, add a float, we're gonna add 3 points over here. So the first point, we're gonna make the time 0 and the value at 1. We're gonna start from 1 second. And we want the timeline, well, let's add this one as well. Drag, it can be 0.2 and maybe a little bit, yeah, 1.1, 1.2, somewhere like that. All right, and we're gonna add another one, and yeah, let's just change the length to the whole timeline to 1 second. We just want it to be 1 second. At this point, we want to make it at 0.75 and the value 0. But we don't want it to be a hard line. We just want to curve it to have this smooth transition, ease in and ease out. So we're just going to click on the user. Make sure all of the points are user. This one. All right. Let me just make the curve look a bit better. All right. I guess that's fine. All right. That's it for our timeline. We're gonna close our timeline and we're gonna go to the event graph. So we want to put the timeline on press released. We don't want to play the rotation animation where we're clicking. We want to play it when we release our mouse. So we're gonna put it on the second and we're gonna always play from start. And we're gonna add it to the word rotation of the default route. And we're gonna update. All right. Next, we're gonna grab our two variables that we created, the x and the y, and we're gonna subtract from each other to check the distance and to check which direction it's going to. Sorry. And we're gonna add it to, we're gonna get the word rotation of the default route as well. And we're gonna multiply it by the value of the timeline. Let me just split this and get the word rotation as I said. Split this one as well. Wait, this doesn't look nice. Wait, let me just drag this, bring it down maybe. Yeah, it looks nice, all right. Drag this down, all right. And we're gonna add the yaw to the whole calculation that we did from the timeline. So adds on top of the rotation, the current rotation. Yeah, and the rest we can just, and the rest we can just put it as it is. All right. So if we compile and test now, you can see it's rotating really fast, and it's really not rotating around the object itself. So what we can do now, first of all, let's make it rotate around the statue. So as you can see, the distance that we have from the camera, it's not rotating around the statue. What we're gonna do now, we can get it closer to align the pivot with the statue, and then we're just gonna drag the camera a bit further. So now if we play, you can see we are going around the statue and the speed is really high of the spin. All right. So let's adjust the speed a bit. If we get the value that we are subtracting and we clamp it to a minimum and a maximum value. So we're gonna give it 20, yeah, minus 20 and 20 for the minimum and maximum. Let's test it again. All right, it's a bit better. It's a bit better, but maybe I'm gonna just multiply the whole value that I'm getting by multiplied by 0.02, I guess. Let's test. All right, now the rotation is what I like, but wait, it's rotating on the other side, so maybe I can just subtract just negative value. Yeah, you can see now it's rotating fine. But when I'm rotating from left to right, it's working, but right to left is not working. Let me see the problem. Oh, all right, so, okay. I made a mistake here in get mouse position. I'm getting the Y as well. So what we have to do is we have to get both X because we are trying the start X and the end X. So we want to see where the mouse started and when the mouse ended on the X axis only. We don't want the Y axis. So if we compile and test again, so now you can see we are dragging and it's rotating from both sides. But there's the mouse, when I'm going left to right, it's rotating the other way. So it's not, the rotation is not exactly where the mouse is going. So what we can do here, we can see there is a small issue. We can just fix it by going into the mouse and removing the negative value. Now you can see that the rotation is exactly on the same side that I am rotating my mouse. If we go fast, it rotates fast. If we go slow, it rotates slow. You can drag it a bit further. All right. Okay. So there's a small issue where we can fix it as well as an addition. If I drag and drop, if I drag my mouse on the same position and I stop for a while, it keeps rotating, but I don't want to do that. I wanted to calculate the velocity. If it goes to 0, I don't want it to rotate. So I'm just going to create a custom event. So it checks the slow rotation. If the rotation is so slow that it stops for a second and then you release the mouse, we don't want it to rotate. I'm just gonna add the custom event over here before the timeline, before doing the rotation. Just gonna add it over there, right? And actually I want an input for my custom event as well. I want to input the float, the mouse that we are getting, to compare it later on. So what we can do here, just drag any float, drag and drop just to get the node, then you can remove it. And I just want to drag drop the end mouse position. So I'm checking the end mouse position. If it haven't moved for the last 0.2 second, I don't want the timeline, the rotation to happen. I just want it to stop in location. So what we're gonna do here, I'm gonna just take the temp variable and just add a temporary variable, which I'm gonna explain in a bit. And I'm gonna subtract that value with the float that we have, that we stored. And then we're gonna branch over here and we're gonna check. So we put a condition here. If the mouse haven't moved, we check. If the location of the mouse, if it's still less than 5 and greater than -5, it means just the mouse is almost in the same location. We don't want to rotate it. We just want it to stay still. All right, it has to be negative. All right, and then we add an and boolean just to check if both are true. And inside the branch. All right. So in this case, we don't want the statue to glide, to have a rotating animation. So what we can do, we add a multiplication value over here, add a pin, and I'm just gonna write let's say glide, and we're gonna put it here, and the default is 1, so it does nothing when it's 1. So here, if it's false, or if it's true, we're just gonna multiply it by 0. If it's false, by 1. So if we multiply it by 0, the rotation, it won't work. So we are not implementing the gradually slow feeling for it. All right, so now we want to drag a pin from event begin play. Let me add the sequence. Drag the pin down, and I want to add a set timer by event. And I want to put the value of 0.2. on the time. So this is the set timer as event that we are checking if the mouse is still in the same location or it has been dragged. We're just gonna name it set temp value. Yeah, so the temp value that we added, and we're gonna make it looping for sure. Here, this temp value. We're just gonna get the branch and hold. You have to check if it's mouse on hold or not. And we're gonna get the mouse location. We're just gonna get it from here. Paste and get control. And we're just gonna set the value to our temp value. So what it does, it checks the mouse and mouse position, and after 0.2 seconds, it checks the mouse position again. If it's on the same location, it won't rotate. So as you can see, if I drag and drop and stop, it won't. But if I drag and drop, if I drag it really quickly and release it really fast, it's gonna rotate. But if I drag slowly, it won't rotate. Let's make it a bit faster. I feel it's a bit slow. Test now. And that's it for our video. And thank you for watching my video, and don't forget to like and subscribe.